What's going on, everyone? This has been a really crazy week, and I want to recap some trades that I took along with some trades that we took as a community in my Discord. I post videos like this throughout the week in the chat room. However, I figured let me just post this. It's going to be packed with a lot of valuable lessons that I don't really share to my YouTube. So I'd appreciate it if you could just take 2 seconds, thumbs this video up for me. And if you want a very good trading resource, I'm going to link my Instagram in the description below. I post daily recaps along with very good trading tips and tricks on here. Link is in the description. You're definitely missing out if you aren't following it. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. First, let's go over the action on Wednesday, April 21st. Let's go into my pre-market plan that I post every single day in my Discord room. So I like doing the market first, so it gives us an outlook of how the market is trading, along with the other underlying equities that we have setups on for as well. However, NQ and ES were my main focuses, and I trade SPY options off of the ES chart and QQQ options off of the NQ chart. It's just how I like to trade. It doesn't matter how you do it. However, the concept of supply and demand will work no matter what market you look at. So the plan was we were balanced overnight on the Nasdaq, and we were creating value bouncing at the 13729 demand zone. That is key. If we start bouncing at this demand, we have 13852 supply to target. What I'm watching out for is stop out longs below pre-market lows and below 13700. If this holds after we break the low, very well the market could bounce and be balanced for the rest of the day. So if I pull up the Nasdaq chart over here, I'll show you exactly what I was looking for. So on Tuesday's action, we sold off from supply and we dropped right into this demand zone. So this was Tuesday, and I'm referring to Wednesday's action. However, we like to use the previous day or the previous week's action to gauge the current status of the market. So price sold off, we have sellers evident in the market, and we come into this demand zone where we start bouncing and we find a temporary bottom. So it's safe to say, number one, we have a lower wick here, and number two, we have demand, and number three, we start bouncing. So it's safe to say we have buyers priced into the market at some areas over here, price comes down, and we move back up. So we know there is some buying activity in the market. We found the bottom, and price cannot move any lower. So we have buyers on Tuesday. Then throughout the night, we start bouncing at demand again, and when we start moving up closer to the open throughout the night. So now we have two different areas, especially that we sell off into demand again, and then we start moving up and start trading a little flat near the open. So now we have buying around this area at demand. So you have to put yourself in the heads of other traders and knowing who your competition is. The basis to my trading strategy is longing at demand and shorting at supply. However, using market context, you could gauge the participation between different participants, know where they are in pain, know where they are happy and they are gaining, and you could use that to your advantage. So putting that context into play, knowing we have longs all throughout this area, if I was long, where are you going to stop out at? You're pretty much going to stop out at the low. So that's where we came from the pre-market plan. I'm watching for stopping out longs below pre-market lows and a bounce at 1370 for it to hold, and we could, move up from there. My philosophy was if majority of retail were short and you had longs stopping out, what that's going to do is it's going to fuel a further move to the downside. How do I know that? Well, let me pull this up over here. When you are long and you're stopping out, you have to sell. And when retail is buying a support break, they also have to sell. And if you think about it, shorts are technically buyers, and longs that stop out actually provide liquidity for passive longs to get filled when other longs are in pain. Meaning we stop out, we break a low inside of demand. It's a perfect trap for the market to bounce. So here we have the 13711, which is the area I wanted longs to stop below. I gave it a little wiggle room for 1370 for it to bounce over here. Now, at the same time, majority of equities were also bouncing off of demand. For example, we have Roku over here. It made a low, had heavy volume bouncing at demand. If we were to go to a 1-minute chart, you could see it a little clearer. Over here, we were selling off, bounced at demand, while Nasdaq was also selling off, stopping out longs. Amazon over here, same exact thing as Roku, sold off into demand and bounced. So these are all valid entries as well from the pre-market plan that I posted on other, stocks as well. Apple, which is a Nasdaq leading stock, sold off into demand, bounced perfectly. Tesla, perfect example. This followed it to the T. Tesla broke the low, heavy volume in demand, and then this thing started rallying. So you have 4 setups right there besides the market itself, which bounced off of demand. But what I liked about it was majority of equities were coming into demand while Nasdaq was selling off. You have to agree that this does look bearish over here on the Nasdaq. However, when everybody is bearish, I have to be bullish, especially that we're inside of a demand zone. So then the market came in, we stopped out the longs, actually hit support to the penny, to the tick, heaviest volume of the day, and then the market started rallying up, had a crazy move, and then we started flagging over here, and we had a crazy all-day run. We were consistently making higher highs, consistently making higher lows, no reason to panic, consolidated near the afternoon hours, and then rallied right into supply end of day. So beautiful trade. It's very simple analysis using price and volume. Know your competition, know your supply and demand zones, have a structured plan with market context. Now at the same time this was going down, we had the S&P 500, which is what I traded, did something a little similar. However, we wanted the same thing to happen. So we created supply at 4126 and 3/4. We were watching to see how price responds to the upside, and if we break above pre-market highs, we can rally into the next supply zone at 4138 1/4, which is a key area for today. It basically sets the tone for the remainder of the day. So keep those zones in mind. We're also watching it to the downside. However, the S&P was stronger at the open. So now go into a 5-minute chart. We don't have demand. However, I took it long due to the context of the market. So in the first 15 or so minutes, the market did look very weak. This was while the Nasdaq was selling off and majority of equities were selling off into demand as well. We're hovering below VWAP. At one point, we had a very large upper wick, and these little wicks right here, basically like a brick wall at VWAP, signify that the market is very bearish. So it's safe to say we do have some bears priced in. Then the market starts moving up, and what I liked here was type of expansion that we saw. So we saw price as it was moving up, candles getting wider and candles getting thicker, and we are at this supply zone right here, which actually coincided with pre-market highs around 4132 and 1/4. So then we started moving up, and what I liked, like I said, was we were slicing through this zone like butter. There were 0 signs of selling pressure. There were 0 signs telling me that bears are evident in the market. So when I see that, it basically tells me to avoid the short side and only focus on longs, whether we get a pullback or if I just stick to my plan and want a long above 4132, which was the pre-market highs. So I'm going to my intraday commentary tab right here. Pull this up. So I said I'm going to look to play calls on, yes, very strong move. Pull this up. Yes, very strong move above supply. Key is if buyers can push above pre-market highs, I'm going to look to take it long, targeting a quick scalp into 4138. This was at the same time Nasdaq broke the low, stopped out longs, and bounced. So this was at 950. I got in at 948 right over here when we get this quick push up. As soon as the candle opened, I took it long, got in a little early. However, due to my risk tolerance, I could afford getting in early. My chances of the trade working out are a little slimmer. However, the way I trade, I do like entering a little prematurely, knowing my risk is a little tighter. So then we got a quick push up above pre-market highs, and we started consolidating here above the high, which could be seen as a bullish shine. At this point, I was saying we need a quick push up. My day is going to be made. When you're trading with heavy size on SPY, it's very liquid, and quick pushes into strength, I like to sell full position. So we finally got that push up. I sold full position right at supply. It was a quick little 7-point scalp. It was really a very good trade. It happened very fast, and you have to be quick on your analysis. However, we did hit the supply zone. This supply, now that we are above it, becomes invalid. We can remove it from our charts. And then after hitting supply, it consolidated near the highs, which is another bullish shine. Really did not give me or present me a setup based on my edge. However, we did rally into the next supply zone. And due to the context, like I said, this is not a valid short due to how strong the buying is and that we create new demand on the way up. So what this rally tells me is new buyers are coming into the market as we move up. And that is very convincing in a very strong uptrend move. So then the market started pulling back and I wanted to do something very simple. Basically was, let me pull this up here. I'm going to remove the supply. We have demand at 4138 to 4134 that we want to hold, and we can look to take long if we start bouncing. This was at 1034. So this is where my second entry was. I took SPY long. What this rally did was confirm that this is a makeshift demand zone in this area like this. We'll draw it like that. I will extend this forward. Now we're just waiting for price to pull back and hold above the 4132 demand zone. Price consolidated. This is where your emotions and FOMO will come in. We eventually pulled back into the demand right at the start. It bounced off it perfectly. And then we started rallying. I took it long very fast right in this area over here. Stop below the low for a quick little 4-point scalp right inside of supply where we broke the high and we were playing games. And then throughout the afternoon, we continued to rally, maintained the uptrend, and just like Nasdaq, rallied into supply end of day, where this 4167 zone is key for Thursday's action, which is the day I'm recording this video. So keep 4167.5 in mind. So this is where all the fun comes in. Here's the S&P 500 plan from today, which is Thursday as I'm recording this. We had that 4167 supply zone. And we also had an inverse head and shoulders pattern similar to the Nasdaq. To the downside, we had demand at 4157 and 53.25 that we need buyers to hold, and we can look to take it long. So going to a higher time frame chart, here we have our left shoulder over here. Here we have our head. It's an inverse head and shoulders. And now what we were doing in pre-market was just waiting for a right shoulder to be put in. Now, the beauty of supply and demand is once we throw our imbalances on there, here's our left shoulder, here's our head. We were waiting for a pullback, which was confluent with a right shoulder on a head and shoulders pattern, which would have gave us extra confirmation to take the market long. We had the 53.25 zone, and we also had zones a little lower at 4.4. Okay, now the market did open. Now that we understand the context of this a little bit, flat overnight. We had those buyers yesterday, so we know buyers are priced into the market. The key is, are they going to defend them or not? So the market opened up. We started selling off into demand. However, there really was not any proper confirmation here for me to get long. There was really no convincing signs to the market, and buyers over here really were not getting rewarded, and they really weren't showing any effort. You want to stay on the same side as them. If they're not showing effort, don't go on the same side as them. It paid off. Our patience, definitely did pay off. I was telling everybody in the Intraday Commentary tab to hold off on this. There really is not any, good enough confirmation yet. I said patience. Your adrenaline rushes at the open. It's natural to have an itch. Ignore the emotions and wait for clear direction. I said this is probably the most important chart of the day. It lines up with the inverse head and shoulders pattern. At one point, it did look very, very bearish to me. However, said buyers are not getting rewarded. We wait for proper confirmation. So the market did sell off, and why we wait for proper confirmation is we did, just like yesterday on the Nasdaq, broke the low, heavy volume comes in. You have to put yourself in majority of retail shoes. Majority of retail is shorting a low a day break if they have no idea that we are inside of a demand zone. For me, I'll call you crazy if you are shorting this, especially knowing we have demand. So the market sold off, and if you were watching the time and sales, and if you were watching the candles paint its story, you would have seen buyers step in, and you would have seen bidders basically immediately bid us higher as soon as we broke below 4150. This was a clear clear indication to get long. I told everybody in the chat room. I flipped like a switch right to the bull side. I took calls immediately. Right here, as soon as I saw that quick push, my stop was below the low, and I was targeting essentially the supply zone at 4167. So then the market was playing games. We had VWAP, so basically my line was basically like this. I wanted us to get inside or trade above the oval, and I really wouldn't be in pain that much. My position wouldn't be underwater. Consolidated for about the next half hour, and then we finally got that push around 4163. We consolidated a little sideways, and let me pull this up here. So I walked members through this basically all through the whole trade, exactly what I was watching, exactly what I was seeing. I was telling them if I was long, where my stop would be. Quick volatile push up, you want to sell into strength. I let them know when I exited, just because I knew a lot of traders were in this trade with me. So what I saw was this consolidation right here at the open. I wanted a quick push up, because quick pushes up above high a day, I know majority of retail does chase it. Soon as we got this quick volatile push up, I put a limit on the offer to sell. It partially got filled, and it started selling off a little bit lower, and I got out full position the next minute. So very beautiful trade on this. Very simple analysis by knowing your competition, knowing who's getting rewarded and who's showing effort. Eventually we hit this zone around 11:30, and this brings me into my next lesson. However, I want to get into Nasdaq, because this was essentially the same exact thing today as the S&P 500. So if I were to go back to the pre-market plan, we're going back and forth here. Nasdaq right here, same exact thing, inverse head and shoulders pattern. I'm gonna look to play calls if buyers show up at the 13859 13847 demand zone. Now, I don't like entering multiple positions, having 3-4 different positions at once. I like to monitor the market as it's telling me and as it's generating information. However, we did sell off perfectly into this demand zone. I know a lot of traders took QQQ calls off of this. Then, just like yesterday, we rallied into supply, showed no signs of selling, and this was basically an all afternoon chop inside of this supply zone, eventually broke the high, and this is where we get into the second part of the day. So this is where price will precede news. What I mean by this is, inside of a supply zone, this is very key, we have unfilled sell orders sitting at this area where sellers are agreeing that this is unfair value. So as price moves into supply, the idea is to take the market short, because there is a huge imbalance in liquidity at this zone. It's safe to say big money is actively trading inside of imbalances. That's why they are created in the first place. So we rallied inside of this zone, and I'm sure you're all aware of Thursday's news, today's news, with the capital gains news with Biden. Price precedes news, meaning a negative catalyst will come out inside of supply. It happens. We can't really time it. We don't know when it's going to happen. But I've seen the biggest and greatest moves with negative catalysts happen while price is in supply. So the big boys will get filled their orders. There's always somebody that knows something. The market is a big scheme. And boom, they pull the rug. Bad news comes out inside of supply. We absolutely drop. New supply gets created. Zero reason to take the market long off of this terrible news, and off of new supply forming based off of supply zone, especially on a news catalyst with extremely heavy volume. So yes, we have demand, and yes, we invalidated it. However, you're out of your mind if you're looking along it over here. It's a complete gamble. This was the same time, same exact thing happened with Nasdaq. The rug was pulled, news came out, and we dropped very hard. But it goes to show you, someone always knows something. I've seen the best news come out inside of demand, the worst news come out inside of supply. It's because the big boys, the traders with fat pockets, need their liquidity, and they need to get filled. The team also killed it this week. I'm not one to stress about profits, because they're really irrelevant in trading success. However, the feedback and the amount of success that I'm seeing with members is very overwhelming. It makes me feel pretty good knowing that people are utilizing my strategy well, and members are making some very good trades. They're trusting the process. They're following along their plan, and they're seeing their trading do a complete, 360 or 180, whatever you want to call it. And they're making very good money. So it makes me feel very good. Then today on Friday, it's pretty crazy. The market made an all-time high. Looking at yesterday and how bearish it was and bouncing off of demand, overnight I really didn't have too much confidence that the zone would have held. However, we were flat, made a low at this demand zone. We opened up, and as the market was trading in the first 15 minutes, it was flat, consolidating. But if you were watching the time and sales, there was heavy orders consistently coming through around 4136, 4137, even lower around 4134 that were hitting the offer, and price was moving up. So then we got that rally, we consolidated a little bit. We did not bounce off of demand intraday, and we really did not form any clean intraday demand zones as well. So it was just a consistent rally up. It was hard for me to chase a move like this because at some point, if I'm longing up here, I would feel like I'm chasing. Same thing, especially that we had supply right here, I would feel like I was chasing. However, buyers were very strong. How do I know that they're strong? The supply that formed because of this drop yesterday tells me sellers are here, and the fact that we're acting like today, there was no sellers there at all, tells me buyers were very eager, buyers were very strong, and because we're so close to all-time highs, I mean, it was pretty evident that we were going to test it. Eventually broke the high and sold off. That's why I'm against playing breakouts above key resistance or key support zones, because if you bought that all-time high break, you would have got dumped end of day, and you would probably ruined your week in a matter of 10 minutes. So I'm going to end the video here. I hope it helped. I do videos like this throughout the week in my Discord room. It's only available for members of the Invested Trade program. If you want to learn my strategy, I would recommend taking the course, looking on my website. But besides that, make sure to follow me on Instagram, drop a like on this video, and peace out.